Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. They are praised so much here because they are praiseworthy. Because Allah and His Prophet praised them. Because our Sultan and Awliya praised them. The Awliya Allah, they are praised them. Because they were defending the rights of Islam, Allah and His Prophet for 700 years. Because they stopped the kufr from entering into Islamic lands for 700 years. Because they brought Islam east to west and north to south. And because they were holding on tightly to the way of Awliya Allah, that they brought tariqat and they held high the Ahlul Bayt for 700 years. That other earlier dynasties, they were running to kill the grandsons of the Prophet. That you see what kind of Muslims are living now. That they're destroying tombs of the Sahabis, tombs of the Prophets, tombs of the Awliya Allah, and the Muslims, they are keeping quiet. That's why they are being praised. Even if we don't praise them, Allah and His angels, they are praising them. Why? Because they are always praising the Holy Prophet, ﷺ. And they held it on tightly. Yes. Why did they collapse? Why? Any strong group that is Islamic, why did it collapse? Never Muslims or Islam is going to collapse. Islam is never collapsing. Islam is high. But never the Ummah is going to collapse because of outside. Never. It's always because of inside. Because of the betrayal from the inside. Because the betrayal of the Muslims. That's why it collapsed. And it collapsed because Allah destined it to collapse. They knew that too. They were not so proud to say, we're going to rule for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. They knew. They knew it was coming. The signs were showing. Because they believe in signs. They believe in Allah and His Prophet, and they believe in Awliya Allah. Everyone in the time of the Ottomans, everyone in that empire, they believe in Awliya Allah. They have a sheikh. It was an empire of tasawwuf, an empire of Sufism. Can you understand that? We cannot understand. We cannot even imagine. And it's an empire of Sufism that is not passive. It is an empire of Sufism that is not just limited to mawluds here and there. It is not. It is an empire of tariqat that brought the rule and the sword and the flower of Islam everywhere. And they brought balance. Yes, they collapsed. Because Prophet said, when these things happen, pull back, speaking to the Sultan. Who is going to believe this? Muslims are not even knowing their history. And if they want to know their history, they come in already with a colored view, a biased outlook. Their opinion is already poisoned. They don't come in with an open mind. They already decided. Why they decided? Because we've already been poisoned in our own education system. That kings are wrong. Kings are bad, Khalifas, they're all corrupt, isn't it? In Turkey and everywhere else. Democracy, number one. Very good, very good. Nationalism, top. Ummat, Khilafat, well, maybe last time, but now we have a better way. This is wrong, this is poison, and it's toxic, and we have already been brainwashed. So, when someone is brainwashed with that, how can we sit down to discuss these things? First, you have to clean. We have to wash your brains now first. Then we can sit down and we can discuss. Because if you come, you already have a firm opinion. That time we're not going to say nothing, even if we show you 1,000,000 proofs. Even if we take out not only proofs on the Quran and Hadith, 104 books to show to you what we're saying is true, you're not going to believe. Because now the ego is already standing in front. The stubbornness and the anger and the arrogance and the envy is already standing in front there. So you cannot penetrate. But if a person is sincerely wanting to know, that is a different story. And sincerity does not come with arrogance. Sincerity does not come with anger. Sincerity does not come with stubbornness. It comes with an open heart and say, I'm here to learn and to listen. They listen to what the West is saying. They listen to what the enemies of Islam are saying. We believe it wholesale. We never question. If you put 10% of this kind of questioning or doubt to what we have learned about our Islamic past from our enemies, you're going to get 100% more faith reaching to you that time. But no, when it comes to history or religion by the Muslims themselves. They say we must question. But when it comes from unbelievers writing books about us, we say, no, no, no. Don't you see it's printed in Yahudi publishing companies? It's true. It is haq. This is wrong. It is not haq. Yes. So when betrayal happens from the inside, that is what happened to the Ottomans. Did the empire get weaker? Yes, it did get weaker. You will say, well, if they're so good, why get weaker? Hey, you idiot. Of course everything gets weaker. You only get strong with that much taqwa, with that much faith, with that much sincerity that you have in that truth, and you're putting that truth in your life. If you're not putting that truth in your life, of course that faith is going to get weak. You're calling yourself a Muslim, but you're not praying, you're not fasting, you're not going to the Hajj, you don't believe in so many things. Of course your faith is going to go weak. Of course you're going to collapse. You cannot say just because you're taking Shahadat now everything is guaranteed. We are not like those ones who says, oh, just believe and you'll be saved. Eternal salvation. You're going to get and you're going to go to paradise. That is not Islam. Now you accept Allah and His Prophet. Now there's a bigger responsibility for you to do. If you drop that, and after warning and help coming and you still refuse, then wait to get punished. And that's exactly what the Ummah did. So what happened to the Ottomans? Did they modernize? There's a whole big history that we have to sit down, build up foundation, and come to understand. If the Ottomans modernized, how did they modernize? What did they modernize? When did they modernize? Don't think they modernize. Oh, modernize means what? They became like today's modern Muslims. What did they take to modernize? You understanding that? Did they say to everyone, okay, become modern? Now everyone, I'm talking about the Ottomans, I'm talking about until the time of the last ruling Khalifa, Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan. Janat Makan. After what happened to him when the Khalifa is not ruling anymore, when there was a parliament, there are other things that's happening, then that time, definitely, because there is no complete Shariat without the Khalifa, that time you cannot really call them also 100% Ottomans following the Shariatullah. Up till the time of Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan, who for close to 40 years, he was ruling one person alone. And there were betrayers, traitors inside. Who are the traitors? Yes. Were they calling themselves Ottomans? Yes, they were calling themselves Ottomans. But to be Ottoman is not just with a name. It's just not what we claim. Like to be Muslim is not just by name. You have to have a lifestyle. You have to have a belief. It must show. There must be a proof. Those calling themselves Ottomans, but they're looking to the West. And they're saying, we like this lifestyle. We don't like this Islamic lifestyle. And others that are living there, that are non-Muslims, that the Turks, the Ottomans, they were taking and they were putting them high, although they are not Muslims and they were not Turks, because they were serving the Ottoman state, like the Armenians and the Jews even. And other ones, the Christians, that they were giving high positions. When that time of fitna entering, these ones that the Ottomans, they were supporting, they started pulling back, they started betraying, and they started looking to the West, and the Western powers and their fitna start entering, and instead of obeying and following the laws and the promise and the contract that they made to the Ottomans, they start to turn towards France and Russia and Britain and Germany. Yes. So there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of betrayal that happened. Even with all this betrayal that happened, the Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan, he still had power by force to clean this mess up. But he obeyed that hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And together with the awliya Allah, he said, now is the time for me to step down. Because the ummah doesn't want. Who was it? Who also betrayed him? Don't just think, okay? It is the intelligentsia, the elite. Those ones who were going to the West and they were learning things from the West and they were understanding what the West was giving and they like that lifestyle. They don't like Islamic lifestyle. Don't just think it is also the non-Muslims, other people who they're just looking for an opportunity now to bring the Khilafat down and to declare their own independence. Even after centuries of being supported by the Khalifas, that they betray him. Not just them. There are also those ones calling themselves Islamic scholars. They've already betrayed. There were some Muslims, not some, so many, who are saying, yes, Khalifa, Ottoman. And when they see the weakness is happening, they say, now is our time. Now is our time. We don't want to be under the Ottomans anymore. And Muslim countries, from the Middle East to Eastern Europe and North Africa, they say now is the time we want to kick out the Ottomans. And from that time until now, they've been humiliated and they can never rise their face again. Look. Look to see the Middle East. Look to see Eastern Europe. Look to see North Africa. Look to see the Mediterranean. Look to see all those countries that they were holding on tightly, and how the Ottomans were treating them and what kind of civilization they had. And when they betrayed the Ottomans, from that time until now, what they have achieved? Nothing. Eastern Europe, complete disaster. Bosnia, complete disaster. North Africa, they're still springing. Arab Spring. The Arabs have been springing since the time that their leaders say, we betrayed the Khalifa. And they're following the shaitans who said, betray the Khalifa and we'll make you to be the Khalifa. And they believe that. And once they betrayed the Khalifa and the Arabs betrayed the Khalifa, and they say, now we're going to make you, Sharif Hussein, to be the Khalifa. And the British says, ha ha ha, think again. Place him under house arrest and exile him. And Sharif Hussein, until the time, the moment that he passed, he was crying 24 hours non-stop, asking Allah for forgiveness. So many Muslim countries, so many Muslim nations, almost all of them they betrayed. So many Muslim countries gave their soldiers to come to Çanakkale to fight against the Khalifa. This is not betrayal. So are you wondering why the Ottomans, they fell? There's complete betrayal from every side. So many of the alims and the ulamas, so many so-called Shaykhul Islam, they were openly supporting the Masons. Look, they were openly initiated into Freemasonry. They're calling themselves Shaykhul Islam. They're calling themselves Muftis. So are we wondering why? Are we wondering why when the whole system that was holding the Ottomans up, this whole system say we don't want them anymore? There is the Khalifa and a handful of people. And the games that they played to the Ottoman soldiers and the generals that were already, and the pashas that have already betrayed the Khalifa. And they're making these poor soldiers to march from here to there and there to there to just wear them down. So many games that they were playing. Are we believing that? Are we reading? Which books, which words are we reading? Yes, Ikra. Which words are we reading? If all these things are printed in a book, in English or in a Western language, supported by Western scholars, you're going to believe it just like that. But because it's spoken by someone else, by a Muslim, and is not in text, and is not supported by these companies, you're going to say, well, you have no proof. Give us the proof. Subhanallah. We've come to that condition now. Yes. So yes. Did the Ottomans modernize? They did modernize. But they didn't modernize Islam. They did not modernize Islamic lifestyle. Islamic lifestyle was still there. Islamic manners were still there. They modernized just the externals. They modernized the army. Yeah, Definitely. They modernize certain things that happen. It is also a big game, a big show. We're not going to enter into that too much now because that requires you to understand Ottoman history, which sultan did what were his influences, what was he trying to do, and there's official history and there's unofficial history too. Yeah. So, what is the last part of the question? Say.
They didn't want Sharia law anymore. Why are they praised so much?
Ah, that's it. We already answered. Yes.
First part is why did they collapse?
Yeah. They collapsed because they took that sword and we put it back in. That's why they collapsed. Okay? Because the Muslims, not the majority of the Muslims too, those Muslims that were giving power, those Ottomans that were giving power, they say, we don't want this sword, we only want flowers. They say, we don't want a sword, we only want interfaith. We don't want the sword, we only want our cultures to mingle, and we want to take what the West has to offer. We want to live a different kind of lifestyle away from the Shariatullah. Yes. When they put that sword back, what's going to happen? Of course it's going to happen. Then the Ottomans collapsed. Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan has the power to take that sword out back again. He had hidden armies called Little Mehmets that he can take over and reclaim. But he was also an awliya. He was also a saint. And the advice coming from the Prophet ﷺ, pull back, step down. Certain other events have to happen because the Akhir Zaman now is entering. This is the age of Jababirah. And Allah has promised the age of Jababirah. When the sultans, they fall, the Jababirah, the tyrants, they're going to rule. Power is going to be given to the unbelievers for 100 years. And that is the moment that it started. We're coming to the end of this time. Inshallah Rahman, may Allah make us to become real Ottomans.